Hello everyone, welcome back to Cyberwhale. I hope you all are doing well, and in the week 4 content we are going to discuss about the day 12 modules today. As we have in the previous video, we have already discussed about the day 11 content, which was basically about the privilege escalation itself and the post exploitation and its advanced techniques, and in which we have already discussed about the privilege escalation. So hands-on was not shown, and I'm skipping the hands-on video for the privilege escalation as we have already done it in the day 8 content. If you haven't seen the video yet, you can just go on to my YouTube channel and you can see the day 8 content part 1 and part 2 that are basically describing the privilege escalation as well as the privilege escalation hands-on. You can see and check the how to post, how to exploit the how to do the exploitation, and as well as how to perform the privilege escalation. So for this particular video we are going to discuss about the day 12 module, which is going to be about the covering tracks and its subtopics, which are clearing logs and hiding presence, and also the techniques which are to be used to perform covering of the tracks. And as well as in the part 2 of this particular day 12 session module, we are going to cover up the hands-on and the tools for this particular covering tracks. That tools and hands-on are going to be in the part 2, guys. For this particular video we are just going to cover up the clearing logs and hiding presence and the techniques which can be used in order to perform covering of the tracks. So without wasting time, let's just hop on to the particular topic, that is going to be the clearing logs and the hiding presence. Firstly we are going to discuss firstly we are going to discuss what are covering tracks. Covering tracks, as it is comprising of two words, and you can see one is covering and another is tracks. What do you mean by tracks and what do you mean by covering? As I have already given the example of CID in our few videos which were held earlier, and few modules which were discussed earlier. Tracks are basically the evidences, and you can say the path of finding something. And in the CID, what basically CID do is they basically try to find out what are the tracks in order to find the criminal. And similarly, covering tracks means to cover up the tracks. What basically an attacker do in our cybersecurity case, they hide evidences. They do what? They hide evidences. Tracks are what? Evidences. And covering means to hide them. And these combiningly create a word that is stated to be covering tracks, which means to hide the evidences, or footprints left by an attacker or criminal in order to avoid their detection from the security monitoring tools, and keep an eye on the system for a longer period of time to create a mess, and you can say to perform a bigger threat. That's what basically an attacker do, and that's why covering track, they perform the covering of the tracks in while they are performing any kind of attack. That is it for the covering tracks. Now moving on further, we are going to discuss okay, let's just take an example. Let's just say we have this victims system that is compromised, that is already compromised, already. And the attacker is keeping an eye, hiding. How a person can hide into your system? There are but basically in CID, a person do is they clear all the footprints. They try to clear the footprints from their you can say evidences, like if they're using knife to kill someone, they'll just remove all the footprints from by cleaning it with the handkerchief or something, and they try to hide the evidence. And so similarly, what do the attacker do is, attacker also keep an eye hide. How do they hide? They just clear the logs. They clear the logs. They do is, oh, just give me a second, guys. They clear the logs and hide their presence. And using that particular clearing the logs, and just give me a second. Yeah, clearing the logs and just give me a second, guys. Just give me a second. Yeah, clearing the logs and hiding their, okay, clearing the logs and hiding their presence. They do this thing, hiding their presence. And now you might be thinking, how do they do this, and how do they particularly hide themselves or clear the logs? For this particular thing, we are going to discuss about the techniques in order to get a better hold of how do they clear the logs and how do they hide their presence. So before we proceed further, firstly we are going to discuss about clearing logs and hiding presence. I guess that is not that necessary, because it's the word itself is defining themselves, that clearing logs means removing all the logs that who have entered in your system. If rather it could be the unauthorized access or an authorized access, there will be logs present for that particular thing. That if there was an unauthorized access, the logs of your particular system will show you. In Windows there is basically one thing, event viewer, where you can see the logs. And for the Linux, there is a var log file where you can see the logs of the particular who have got the hold of the system using unauthorized mean or authorized mean. If they are cleared and there is no such logs, how you are going to get the presence or get to know about the presence of the particular attacker? That's how they pretty hide their presence. That is what the meaning of clearing logs and hiding presence is. I hope this topic is clear and you have understood it, that what is the meaning of clearing logs and hiding presences. Now moving on further, we are going to discuss about is the techniques that are going to be used, that basically the attacker used. We are going to think from the attacker's mindset. Number one thing that attacker do is, number one technique that attacker uses, it could be clearing system and event logs. And what do they basically do in this thing is, in Windows, I have already told you, in Windows there is a, you can say, in Windows there is a event viewer where all the logs are present, where all the logs are present. So they clear the logs from there, and if the logs are not present in the event viewer, what event took place in the recent time period, and how get my system got compromised. If a person wants to check the event and check the viewer to observe the event viewer, if there are no logs present, they are unable to find who got the unauthorized access into their system, and that's how they are unable to detect the attacker's presence into their system, and that's how they hide the presence. Nextly, in Linux, if we talk about Linux, in Linux what basically takes place is, in Linux there is a file name as var log, and var log consists of all the logs into the all the logs of the system. And if those logs are cleared or compromised, again we are unable to detect the attacker, right guys? And that's how they basically clear system and event logs to hide their presence, and they are interconnected. As I have already told you, clearing logs and hiding presence are connected, because if you clear the logs and system event logs, you are unable to detect the attacker, and that's how they hide their presence, and they are simply able to hide their presence into your system while they are present themselves there. Then comes the disabling of the security services. what they can do is, what an attacker can do is, if they wanted to, if they got the system access, let's say they got the system access, let's just take an example, let's say victim system, victims system, an attacker got the just let me write it here, attacker got the access. And if attacker got the access of the system and they wanted to, and what an attacker wants to do is, attacker, just give me a second, attacker wants to, you can say, install malicious software into the system. What will he or she do? What will the attacker do is, basically attacker disable the security services. And why do they disable the security services? Let's say they disabled all the security services, disable all the security services, like you can say antivirus antivirus, or you can say firewalls, or security monitoring tools. And if the attacker wants to install those malicious software, and they'll firstly do what, they'll disable the, just give me a second, yeah, attacker got the access, first task of the attacker will be to disable the security services, because they want to do what, they want to install malicious software. And if they want to install malicious software after disabling the security services, a person wouldn't be able to know, the victim won't be able to detect won't be able to detect whether there is any malicious software installed or not, because the services because the services which detects because basically the services which detects all these things are already disabled. And if all those services are disabled, the services won't be able to tell the user that there is something malicious going into your system, which could lead to a threat, and which could lead to a, you can say, mess into the victim system. And that's how disabling of the security services can lead to a chaos. Moving on further, we have is the third topic, that a third technique, that is modifying, or you can say deleting the evidences. What they can do is they can modify or delete all the evidences. And how they can do is, they can use log editing tools. There are several log editing tools which can be used by an attacker. Just give me a second, guys. There are several log editing tools that can be used by an attacker in order to fabricate or you can say, or manipulate the false entries or remove the traces Let's say the attacker is having a log editing tool with them, and while they're into your compromised system, what they can do is they can basically use that log editing tool in order to fabricate the false entries, to create a false entries that, yeah, your system is getting a DOS attack because there are several false entries. And they can show off that way that there are several false entries into your system, and you have to recheck the system, and also the security services. And either it might be also possible that the person or the attacker remove all the traces of your logs that are available into your system, and that's how they hide their presence, as well as they cover the tracks with the fabricated false entries. Moving on further, the fourth technique that we are going to discuss is about the steganography. Steganography, we all might have heard about the steganography and you can say cryptography. There are two things that are, one is steganography and another is cryptography. That is so here I am going to write steganography and encryption that an attacker can basically use is in order to in order to hide their presence. Number one is, attacker can do what is, attacker can embed the malware into the files using either the encrypted files, or you can say, or stegno tool. There is one tool for the steganography especially, in which what we can do is, steganography is a kind of tool. Let me write it down here. Steganography, it is a kind of tool, a tool which is used to hide, to embed things either in the file or images. What they do is they embed things into the files or images, they hide those things in that because if the things are embedded, we are unable to see what things are embedded into a particular file or images. So that's how they hide the malicious payloads and let the attack happen without getting noticed. Just give me a second. Without getting noticed, yeah. So that's how basically steganography tool can help the attacker in order to attach the malicious payload or a malware into the files using either the encrypted files or the stegno tool. So these are basically the four techniques that an attacker can use, and there are several more techniques that an attacker can use. You can check and you can learn about them if you want to, but these are specific for the CHV13, these are the most important techniques in order to clear and cover their tracks, and that's how you can perform clearing of the tracks and covering of the tracks, hiding your presence as an attacker if you are performing as an attacker. But guys, this is only for the educational purpose. Do not use it for malicious intent or for irresponsible ways in order to perform any kind of attack. Do not use it for those purposes. And as this is clear, as I have told you, what you can do is you can use what techniques you can use in order to perform the covering of the tracks, and what is basically covering of the track is. I hope this topic is pretty clear to guys and you have understood how to do this. As if you are asked in your CHV13 practical exam, you can just remember all those things and perform it, and we are going to see the hands-on for this particularly, and the tools that we can use to perform all this in the part 2 of this particular video, which is going to be coming soon. If you like the video guys, do subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, and also share it with your friends and colleagues so that they can also get a benefit out of it. And do not forget to share your precious reviews and comments in the comment section. So till the time, take care and bye bye. See you soon in the upcoming video.